Good morning, welcome all of you. Vande Matram. We are going to discuss right now on sex and yoga. So that is the topic of discussion. Most inquired topic. Most of the time, people keep asking whether openly or hiding their emotions. People keep asking. They are having big anxiety really. And they want to know how these two should go. So this is the question. Most often it is asked to us whether this sex and yoga must go together, or is there any other practicable method so that we can have a um, other thought we must overcome or anything else. That's what the topic of discussion we are going to handle right now. This is to be discussed the glorious topic really. It is a magnificent topic, sex and yoga. So let us start only two lines from Sri Aurobindo, then we are shifting forward towards the mother's writings. About the sex, Sri Aurobindo quotes, sex is a degradation or a distortion of the Ananda force. Ananda capital A and force capital F. That is the distortion and or degradation of this Ananda force is sex. It is at the bottommost level. And Sri Aurobindo quotes how this sexual anxiety, sexual activity, sexual impulse, where really it emerges, what is the condition, what is the environment, and what is the criteria. So, to explain all these things, Sri Aurobindo quotes, inactivity is an atmosphere in which sex easily rises. Inactivity. So, inactivity is the atmosphere in which sex easily rises. So, it must be taken care of because two glorious messages have been messaged by the Master. So, we must really understand what really the atmosphere, inactivity is the atmosphere from which sex really rises. And definitely we must know who are pursuing this sadhana life and who are in the track of this integral yogic process. Sex is a degradation or a distortion of this ananda force. Anyway, now we'll switch forward towards mother course. There is on sex and yoga. There is another danger, mother quotes, after explaining all these dangers like your smoking, drinking, drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, like this, all these things. Mother switches forward towards sex. There is another danger, mother quotes. There is another danger actually. Then danger for those who are in the yogic process in the path of sadhana. For them specially, a mother course tries to explain another danger. It is in connection with the sex impulses. In connection with the sex impulses, yoga in its process of purification will lay bare and thrown up all hidden impulses and desires in you. Some impulses and some instincts, there are actually they are well hidden inside us. Some desires and hidden influences that must be thrown aside, thrown up for the process of purification. And you must learn not to hide things, not leave them aside. That is a great aspect, great impulse. With the I have seen people. Of course, maybe we are not also not free because in different ways, different time, different aspects, different tracks. It is pulled in. So under that influence and impulse, we get disturbed, we get actually deteriorated, we get destroyed. I will tell you the word destroyed for that. So you must learn not to hide the things or leave them aside. You have to face them and conquer and remove. You have to face first, second you have to conquer, third and you have to remove them. The first effect of the yoga, however, is to take away the mental control. Mental control is not yoga. That's what Sri Aurobindo has distinctly clarified. Mental control is not yoga. Here the first effect of yoga, however, to take away the mental control and the hungers that lie dormant and suddenly set free. Staying in the dormant position, they must be suddenly dormant, lie dormant or suddenly set free. They rush up and invade the being. They rush up and invade the being so long as this mental control has not been replaced by a divine control. Already I have explained right now, mental control is not yoga or for Sri Aurobindo. So this mental control must be replaced by the divine control. There is a period of transition when your sincerity and surrender will be put to the test, because at a regular interval we face the tests, exams, and ordeal is the different part. It is a big thing. So your sincerity and surrender will be put to test. The strength of such impulses are those of sex lies usually in the fact that people take too much notice of them. So Mother Course stresses bigly, in a big way, on sex impulse. They to protect too vehemently and endeavor to control them in control them in coercion, hold them within and sit upon them. Coercion, they coerce. Second, hold them within. Third, sit upon them. But much more you think a thing and say, I don't want it. I don't want it. That must be told. Don't want it. I don't want it. That must be there. So things must be clarified, because they sit upon it. They don't know that below my couch everything is awaiting, and we have to take a real care, and how really we must be in a position go for that purification. So Mother quotes again, Mother tries to explain again, I don't want it, I don't want it, twice. Mother has quoted it twice, I don't want it, I don't want it. The more you are bound to it, then what you should do is to keep the thing away from you. That is the thing you must do. Keep the thing from you, away from you, and to dissociate it. Second, dissociate it. Take the little notice that it is impossible, and even if it happens to you think of it, remain indifferent and unconcerned. That is the thing you can do. Remain indifferent and unconcerned. Now, again, Mother goes, the impulses and the desires that come up by the pressure of yoga should be faced in a spirit of detachment and serenity. That is what. When you are pushing ahead, being pushing ahead with the impulse of yoga, then what happens? The impulses and the desires, Mother course of two things. Impulses are desires that come up by the pressure of yoga. By the pressure of yoga, two things are coming: some impulses and some desires. They are coming up to the surface. Should be faced in a spirit of detachment and fast detachment and serenity. So, Mother Course, as something foreign to yourself, you don't know. They have come from outside. You don't know. It is everything is foreign. Or belonging to the outside world, it is I am in no way concerned. That is what the mentality. You should be offered to they should be offered to the divine, so that divine may take them up and transmute them. That is the major criteria, major thing that must be taken care of. Again, if you have once opened yourself to the divine, suppose, because it is told about the divine endeavor and the yogic endeavor, it is been spoken of. So if you once opened yourself to the divine, if power of the divine has once come down into you, you have opened yourself. Initially you were open to this sex and other things. Now once if you are open to the divine, and that force, the power of the divine has come down into you, then what happens? You try to keep to the old forces. Try to keep the old forces. You prepare troubles and difficulties and dangers. So just imagine, you have understood. Don't imagine that on contrary things, truth and falsehood, light and darkness, surrender and selfishness can be allowed to dwell together in the house consecrated to the divine. If that heart is consecrated to the divine, then there is no chance of this contrariety. This, contrary things can't exist in a single place. Open to the divine, and these instincts are kept. In no way it is possible. So the temple must be cleaned. You must keep the temple clean in order to have the living presence. you should be vigilant, mother course, and see that you don't use the divine as a cloak for the satisfaction of your desires. That is what must be understood. You must not use the divine as a cloak for the satisfaction of your desires. Great thing, it must be understood clearly in a very clear cut manner. Again, mother quotes another with another definition, sexual impulses, sexual power, sexual impulses. So many words we have already listened, discussed a little bit. Mother quotes the sexual impulses. Humanity has the sexual impulse in the way altogether natural, spontaneous. Mother quotes it is natural and it is spontaneous. Mother quotes two words, natural and spontaneous. This impulse, sexual impulse, natural and spontaneous, I would say, mother quotes legitimate. There is in outside one great definition is that marriage is a legal prostitution. Prostitution, we hate it like anything, but there is a great definition on marriage. Marriage is a legal prostitution. So mother quotes natural, spontaneous, and she would say legitimate. This impulse will naturally and spontaneously, again, naturally and spontaneously disappear with animality. This impulse will naturally and spontaneously disappear with animality. Many other things will disappear. Not many other things will disappear. As for example, the need to eat, perhaps only the need to sleep, in the way we sleep now. So because most of the time we keep sleeping, most of the time we spend in the purpose of eating, so that will go. But the most conscious impulse in a superior humanity, which is contributed as a source of bliss, is the big word bliss, mother quotes. For that actually, for joy, but big word, but joy and delight is certainly a sexual activities. Bliss is a big word, but big bliss is a big word, but joy and delight certainly sexual activity, and that will have absolutely no reason for existence in the functions. Again, mother quotes of nature, when the need to create in the way will no longer exist, then it will naturally it will also disappear on one day, because under the trick is that the force of the divine must replace this sexual impulse. Therefore, the capacity of entering into the creation with the joy of life will rise one by one step, or will be oriented differently. So the capacity of entering into relation with the divine, with the joy of life, will rise by one step, or will be oriented differently. But what the ancient spiritual aspirants had sought the principle, because mother distinguishes between ancient one and present day sadhakas, sexual negation. That is what the mother quotes, that is sexual negation, is one absurd thing, because this must be only for those who have gone beyond these states. Sexual negation, great phrase, it is not applicable to all. It is only applicable for those who have already gone beyond the stage and no longer have the animality in them, no longer have the animality again, it is not with them, they have overtaken. And it must be drop up naturally, without effort, and without mother course struggle. So once this level you have passed up, you have overcome. So there will be no longer these instincts, and you will get rid of them. To make of it a center of conflict and struggle is ridiculous. You must not compare, and you must not struggle for this ancient principle now, sexual negation and all animality. It must not be a matter, a point of conflict here. It is only when the consciousness ceases to be a human, it is only when the consciousness ceases to be human, that it drops up quite naturally. When ceases to be human, then this consciousness drops off naturally. Here also there a transition which may be somewhat difficult. Transition is difficult, but The beings of transition are always an unstable in equilibrium, the unstable equilibrium. But within oneself, there is a kind of a flame, Mother Course. There is certain kind of flame, and the need of which makes it not pain. If not painful, it is not a painful effort, but it is something that one can do with a smile, because that point to be reached, when that peak is reached, you have overcome, you have come to the point. But it is a difficult it is definitely. But to seek to impose upon it who are not ready for this transition is absurd, because they have not done the sadhana, they don't have the capacity, they have not reached that apex point. So just try to impose it, it is quite absurd, Mother Course. So, how then? What is the next step? It is the common sense. They are human, but they must not be pretend that they are not. One thing you must know: where really I stand. Still, then I am a human being. If instead of recognize the true point, real point, if I pretend that I have overcome all these things, and we are not human, we have crossed, we have overcome, simply there is a tussle, struggle, pain, nothing else. So it is only when spontaneously the impulses become impossible for you, it is only when spontaneously the impulse becomes impossible for you, and when you feel that it is something painful and contrary to the deeper need that has become easy, then, well, externally you can cut the bonds, and it is finished. So that consciousness that must be there, that you must know really, the point where really I stand. So where, how far I have proceeded, that is what that must be understood, that must be evaluated, so that your progress can be very much simple and very much interesting. Anyway, it is time for you to take a short break. Bande Mataram.